Okay. Fuck YouTube. Sorry, only curse word I'll say right now.
Amen.
Okay, so Roy is the guest, is who I'm going to be debating today for the chat to know. Yeah, it's straight to the point. Okay,
It's gonna be fabulous.
yes, so fabulous. I'm actually glad you took this on because I've asked like a couple people, and a lot of people are like, I don't feel comfortable for like the fear of like getting stalked or something, but it's not that bad.
Oh yeah, like that's like a big problem. That's like a big paranoia within our circles, is like the fear of being doxxed and like the repercussions that go with it. But like if you're smart and you have the right OPSEC, you're fine. Like I'm in no fear of being doxxed or anything.
I mean,
So we're
don't
good.
worry. No one in this community is for doxing. Like, no one condones that. That's fucking, like, gay.
Well, it's lame.
Yeah.
It's lame for
Yeah,
like
no, it's a
everybody
low
involved.
blow. It's a low blow. Like, I don't care what side of the political aisle you are. I don't care what kind of ridiculous beliefs you hold. I don't want to be doxxed, so I'm not doxing anyone else.
Yeah.
And
I was
people
like,
who
well,
dox are
it's
not
good that
welcome in
we.
this community.
Well, it's great that we can at least that like
Hell
middle
yeah.
ground. That's a good start.
I mean, yeah, no, agreed. I don't think anyone here condones that. I think that's literally how you get blacklisted. Like any community that, like, if you dox someone, like that's how you get like blacklisted from almost every community, regardless of their take.
Well, yeah. Yeah, while it may not be illegal, it definitely is like not something to be encouraged and something to be shamed, regardless of.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyways, should we get started?
Yes. So I kind of need to figure out your levels of where you're at. That's kind of my one
Your
big
power
question.
level.
Yes. What? How far are you down the rabbit hole? Are you like near the crater, or are you like, yeah? So.
Well, I think we just asked.
Well,
I think we, yeah.
Oh, okay. So maybe I could give you like a little bit of a timeline. Like that, I know that helps people a lot. So pre 2016, I definitely would have been more of a left libertarian, mostly because I just was not politically active at all. And most of my family is like they're 90s liberals, so they've naturally become a part of the MAGA movement as a result. Because that just seems, well, yeah, that just seems to be where every 90s Democrat winds up going to. They all seem to wind up on the Trump train.
Are you a Trump supporter?
I am not.
Okay.
I was for a time, however, we'll get to that, because let me just go down the timeline, because it fleshes out kind of like where I stand just by seeing the progression. So like I said, pre 2016, I was more of a left libertarian. I wasn't very politically active at all. That was until the Ferguson riots. And then when the Ferguson riots happened, I had never even considered race before that, simply because I've been.
Hello? I heard I am a. It like cut out.
Damn.
To me
Oh, you're
that
back.
race was really. Oh. That race was anything to really like, hold against anyone, or that he really cared.
Are you outside, just out of curiosity? Just because there's a little bit of wind.
I am. I'm like looking for a spot where the breeze isn't as intense. Sorry about that.
No worries.
But like you guys can like still hear me somewhat clearly, right?
Oh yeah, no, I was just making sure. I know because a couple of people in the chat like commented on it, so that's why I was like, yeah, it's just a little bit windy.
And you were complaining at me for breathing into the mic? Wow.
You were breathing. You guys didn't hear him, but he was like.
Well, I did before that, but anywho, so yeah, pre 2016, it wasn't even really a thought on my mind, and then Trump, when Trump was running, he dog whistled to white nationalist sentiments and like racist sentiments. I don't think anybody here really debates that.
No, of course.
No. Like,
I'm glad you admit it. I'm glad many people don't admit that.
Like when he
Well,
went
yeah, like
live and was like, "I've done the most for Black people, like besides Lincoln." It's like, what? What?
yeah, yeah, he's in his own head. But anyways, at the time, well, at the time, what like things he was saying made sense to me, and this was as someone who was not politically active at all, because just a lot of his rhetoric made sense to me, like the immigration reform, which I mean to this day is still something I believe is necessary.
I believe
Um,
it's necessary too. It just depends on which direction you're talking about reforming it. Because I don't know
well,
if you
yeah,
understand
well,
how the immigration system in this country works, but it's
yeah,
broken in a lot of ways, and not just that there's too many people being brought in.
well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure at some point we'll probably get into that.
Oh yeah.
But like anyway, but then like just as
Yeah,
time
no,
went
sorry.
on, and then like,
That's one of my
oh yeah, not a
issues.
problem, not a problem. Um, but like as time went on, eventually like I got drawn into like the right stuff. I'm sure you guys have probably heard of the right stuff, right?
Oh yeah. Like, like.
Like TRS.
Oh yeah. No. We're aware of it. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, I'm sorry. Um, but like I became more I started listening to their program mostly because when they would show up on internet blood sports, because like I used to be a Sargonite. I used to like Sargon of Akkad, but because they kept winning, but because they seemed to just be unstoppable in a lot of these debates. So like I finally just tuned into like their program because they have free shows and then they have like a paywall show. And like I found that like I agreed with them on 90% of everything, even with the tongue-in-cheek jokes aside, because they do that a lot and that usually catches them in hot water. Then just as time has gone on, I've kind of like in that same ballpark with a lot of like the right stuff type guys.
Right. No, I think a lot of people start off with the Sargon. Like that's pretty typical.
Well, yeah.
Especially in the beginning of like the SJW kind of movement, where they had like these like Big Red. Everyone knows who Big Red is. The big extremist.
Oh yeah, everybody knows Big Red.
Yeah.
Most people probably know who Anita Sarkeesian is.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Right. The big extremist that like everyone is familiar with.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I was like, and then as a result, I've kind of just like agreed with them all the way up until now, just because like a lot of Trump's rhetoric he has not delivered on in any way that I feel like is really securing my interests or people in kind of my ballpark now,
Or
like,
anyone's.
yeah,
Like,
well,
let's be
yeah,
honest. Who is
exactly.
he
Like,
actually? Who is he actually helping other than like the billionaires? Like, let's.
well, am I allowed to say the J word?
Uh, which J word?
Sure, you can say Jews.
The one. Oh, okay.
Oh,
So, I mean,
oh,
aside from like,
oh! It's a
yeah.
JQ thing. Okay, I
Yeah.
get it.
I kind of.
Well, I mean, if you follow like a lot of what he has actually gotten done, and it has gone through the House and the Senate, it's all in regards to like Israel and funding for Israel, that kind of such as like the Golan Heights, like how they're seizing parts of, aren't they like seizing parts of Palestine and such? I mean, when aren't they?
I'm
But
not for that stuff. Like, I'm not for Israel. Don't get me wrong.
well, no. I mean, I'm not either.
So here's the kind of the question with the Israel. Now, when you say Jews, are you talking about like the average Jew that may have like 5% Jewish heritage in their blood, or
Oh no.
Okay.
I don't think it matters either
talking
way. I'm talking. It's because there are like a minority of Jews that actually like are in charge of anything. Like, yeah, there might be disproportionately more Jews than like other races, but that doesn't mean like I don't know why like the Jew thing is relevant.
Oh no.
Like it's
Well,
almost
no,
as it's almost as relevant as like saying, oh, like because like most of the people in power are white males, therefore like the white male question, right? You're a white male, I presume. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering. Like there might be something going on. There might be a conspiracy there, right? You as a white male, you have a lot in common with those like in power. I'm just
Well,
saying.
do you agree? Do you believe that the president should be catering towards one specific minority above all other groups?
Hold on a
No, but the
second.
only
Jamie,
Go
are you
ahead.
the debater tonight?
No, go ahead.
So thank you. Okay, sorry. I accidentally muted myself too. But no, as I said, I just want to get the level first before we get into the more detail. But as you said, okay, so I guess, what defies, I guess, is a migrant group? Like, is it first generation, second generation, third generation? Like, who's considered not a migrant anymore in your mind? Or when they get full citizenship?
Well, I mean, I would say just anyone who like first generation migrants. I mean, I think that's kind of a given. I would even say to a degree second gen, but I mean that like the more of the specifics are left for like when you're actually deciding policy. I'm not actually deciding policy. I'm just pointing out where I would like it to go.
Okay.
Now,
Huh.
oh,
Oh no. So
but like for oh yeah,
oh
go
no,
ahead.
okay.
Sorry.
And I guess because this again, we're going to go with the segregation. You're more on like the idea of more of like the white versus like the Hispanic or blacks, correct?
Not necessarily.
Okay, that's
Well,
fine.
maybe we should ask him like what he believes specifically,
Okay.
and I guess
Like
why.
in regards like in regards to the topic.
Yeah. So
Yeah, that'd probably be a good place to
Okay.
start.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that would actually be an excellent. So I I believe that we should go back to something similar to pre 1960s where we all had there were very clear distinctions on where the black community began and ended, where the white community began and ended, and etc. So like I think that's a good start, as it were. But as far as like now, I don't believe that we should be like, sicking attack dogs on black people just because they're in the white neighborhood. Like no, I don't condone anything like that. All I'm saying is that we need to have clearly defined areas of where we reside, and then maybe have curfews or something. Because I mean, a lot of these policies did exist in the Jim Crow South. I mean, we can speculate or
Okay,
navel-gaze at how violent. Oh,
I guess the follow-up question would be like, so what is your reasoning for these things? Like, why do you think like this is a good policy?
Yeah. What would be like a bonus of this versus like what do you think would it actually fix anything?
well, I mean, like I'll be honest and straight to the point. I mean, it's mostly to the benefit of white people, and
No
the
kidding.
reason being, yeah, like I won't like pitter patter around it. Like, yeah, it's just like it's for the benefit of white people. Like, because when we look at interracial crime statistics, whites are disproportionately targeted by Hispanics and blacks. Like, I I did drop a link for. I didn't get her name that I'm debating.
Oh,
Uh,
you can call me Chess or I'm
Okay,
probably adding some.
that'll
Yeah,
work.
Chess was fine.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Do you have that?
I sent her some links. There was one where it shows like disproportionate crime, like disproportionate black on white crime.
So
I
is that
think that
the
I
1350? Just to get that clear.
yes, yeah,
1350.
this is
Okay.
where 13.
Okay.
This is the origin of 1350.
Okay.
But
Let's
like
see.
I think that alone is a good enough reason that we should have some sort of system to keep each other separate, just to
Well,
prevent victimization.
you do understand what causes 1350 though, right? There was actually like a cause. Generally speaking, most human beings, regardless of their color, don't have an it to crime, but due to the amount of poverty and how basically we've been literally like stabbing black people in the back for years, and
Well,
even though it's been one like only a few generations, it's still there's some still people alive from the time where segregation was still a thing. So there's a reason for that. There's a reason why they have a higher crime statistic, especially when like their communities can't really rely on the cops as we've seen today.
Well, I mean, Sure, but why would it be disproportionately young black males that were doing it? These aren't the people who endured segregation. These aren't the people who endured Jim Crow. Like, why would it disproportionately be them then?
So again, it has to do with the generations. I mean, as you can see in the US, it's very hard to get up, especially right now. Like especially right now where like the average minimum wage is not enough to survive anywhere.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I
Like
mean that that's planned.
yeah, yeah. That
Like I think we can both agree that yeah that's planned.
so as you can kind of see the kind of levels to it, it's only gotten
Well,
worse, and they haven't been able to get themselves back up.
he-
Like I know you used a line of like free college and things like that, but I can guarantee you, I've kind of worked with student loans. Like the free college isn't a real thing. Some people are lucky enough to get scholarships, but not everyone. And
Oh yeah,
and even then, you're
I
not even
mean,
guaranteed a good job. Like half scholarships are worthless.
well yeah, but again, then why are whites in the same situation so much lower in these crime statistics?
Because of their history. Like, what is it like? For like, what was it? Especially like
Well, because
after World War II, like, um, for blacks generally, like you know how we have this image of like the perfect guy with the wife, and she can stay home and take care of the kids and take care of everything. That has never really been an option in the black community. That has never existed. Everyone has always had to work and they've always gotten paid nothing. So expecting it to be like fixed within like one generation isn't realistic. Like especially the
I
way
would
we have things now, where it no
I
one can
would
get a leg up.
actually beg to differ on that simply because of the 1920s, blacks had their own functioning addendum societies within the greater society. Like if you look at Detroit and Chicago and even Tulsa, because I'm sure you've heard of like through the grapevine of the Tulsa like race riots, right?
Yes, I mean,
Oh,
again,
okay.
again,
So
like
like
I don't deny there was ever riots, and there's still riots to this day. Obviously, I mean that's why it's being brought up again. But as I said, and sometimes I don't know if you agree with this, but sometimes you do have to make a loud noise and have extremists in order for anything to get done. Do you agree with that type of sentiment?
oh, absolutely. I wish I could do that.
And I can see why. Like, and again, like especially with like the like I know like again the 1350 black on black, those types of statistics. When you have that type of society, and they're also vulnerable. Like I know this is kind of going out there a little bit. Like I think you've heard of Jonestown, right? Like the famous cult.
Which Jonestown are we talking? Are we talking like pre United States Jonestown, or are we talking?
The most recent one, the one that was like where I think they went to Brazil. I have to do research on this for next week. Um, but
Okay, then no, I haven't actually.
is it Jones or James? I'm probably gonna it's the cult, the one that like was a white guy. I'm gonna look that up. Who basically his community was mainly black, and he actually kind of fed onto it. Was it Jamestown? No, it had to have been Jonestown. And he killed like he had the 1970s. Thank you. It was like the most massive cult killing in history. Like I think they. Let me see how many died. And like for
Was it
things like that,
Jamestown murders?
James. There we
Something
go.
like that.
Something with a J. Why did I pull up something else then when I put James? Jamestown mass suicide. Mass suicide. Oh, Jonestown. There we go. Something with a J.
Okay.
Yay! People in the chat. Jim Jones. And like something like that, like people were very vulnerable to something like that. Like it given those time frames, like there was a reason why people followed that.
I mean, yeah.
And he
Sure.
preyed on black people. I don't know if you realize he played on the black community. He was fully aware of how the cops were treating them back then, and he knew with people in that vulnerable state actually led to someone like him who obviously was insane and killed a mass amount of people.
I mean, I'm just gonna have to like, you know, for the sake of argument, just like agree, just because I don't know anything about it.
that's fine. As I said, this was kind of a more like
So, like,
way out there kind of thing, but it's like it's just an
yeah,
example of
it's
an
a little
NPC.
esoteric.
Yeah, no, I'll admit, it was out there. I
This
will
is a
admit.
little esoteric.
It was out there, but that was like kind of a good example for like again how easy like people were, especially back then, were vulnerable and how much they kind of needed help. And especially as I said with the black community, like even after we got rid of slave, I mean we've had like the black maids that can never really leave it. They just changed slavery to like a money slave.
I mean, like, I don't know how in tune you guys are with like race realism talking points and such, but I'm sure you know exactly where I'm going with this. But do you maybe think it just could be because the average black IQ is lower, that they're easier to take advantage by these people? I mean, like,
So
even like prominent oh god Jews like will admit in like their private conversations and private documents that that's exactly why they use blacks as basically like a lumpen pro.
I mean, but it goes back to that part where they've always been in the worst communities. They do not get the funding for it. Yeah, no, I don't think I have to grab my thing here in a second. But yeah, like statistically, black people, there are less black people when it comes to scientists and doctors. That is true, but it doesn't mean that goes anywhere. There's has to be an opportunity, especially nowadays, where there isn't that much opportunity. And I'll be straight up honest with that. Like, I think in the US alone, like to become a doctor, regardless of what color you are, is nearly impossible without like dying in debt.
Well, if you're born here, definitely it's easier just to import them, which is why H-1B visas are something I would like to see done away with, but that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, we won't get into that exact part. I know,
yeah, that's like a whole nother topic.
I mean, going with segregation though, like, would you go into the part where only immigrating whites versus other people of color?
No, there just wouldn't be an immigration period.
Immigration period. So you know the
it would just be a complete moratorium.
Yeah, but that doesn't really work. Again, this is another out thing there, but have you heard of the white policy from Australia?
It has something to do with them importing more white immigrants than non-white. Is that correct?
Kind of.
I
yeah.
mean, I've never heard of it. I'm just kind of assuming that that's what the policy.
I mean, when it has white in it, you can roughly assume. They had.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna assume. You could assume one extreme or the other.
Yeah. Well, and they've completely made a 180. But their thing wasn't exactly like blacks and Hispanics like we are in the U.S. Their big issues were Asians, like from China and the Philippines.
Well, yeah, they have a huge problem with a lot of the Chinese coming in and buying up all their property.
Right.
I know that much.
Yeah. So when they had these types of, when they actually closed off their borders to only people from Europe descent, it ended up backfiring because, as we know, China has become a bit more of a powerhouse. When you cut that off, you don't have good relations, and you basically lose on your economy. And that ended up backfiring on them, and slowly over time they even got rid of that policy. And it was kind of interesting because from like one year to the next, they massively increased immigration altogether, because as I said, like, you kind of do want to have a mixture of imports, from scientists to doctors to especially those types of things. Like, we can, I mean, I can probably pull up like 1,000 different doctors that were not from here, or scientists that have made huge advancements that would affect us on a day-to-day basis.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've always had the free exchange of information. Like, Marie Curie was, I believe, German.
Yeah.
And like all of her, well, yeah, and all of their findings came over here just fine.
Yeah.
I mean, like, before you say it's because they're white, I mean, I'm just saying, like, like freedom of information has always more or less had like no restrictions on it outside of like massively totalitarian regimes such as the USSR and China. And even then, information still seeps through. Hello?
I don't know what I don't know what you're telling me.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry. But yeah, as I said, like, and it's like someone made a good comment in here. Like, you need racial immigration, period. Though, like, it also helps with trade. It helps with things along those matters. Yeah, you can change over data. I mean, I guess right now is probably the best example. We can always communicate through the internet right now due to COVID. However, it also has to do with trade and economics. Like, obviously, if you're not willing to let people of another country immigrate with you, why would they want to share their resources with you?
Well, I mean, to be frank, a lot of these countries don't really have a whole lot to trade back. Like in particular, a lot of the Latin American countries don't have a whole lot to give back aside from maybe like sugar and things like that, and like things that can only be grown in that part of the world. Like for example, did you know that about a fourth of Honduras actually lives in the U.S.?
That's not. I mean, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, like I mean,
we.
I mean,
And the problem with that?
and like, well, the problem with that is that it's destabilizing their country because, well, where all their work is going. I mean, all their work is leaving and it's coming here, and then what happens when they come here? They become essentially legal serfs. I mean, I don't think either one of you disagrees with that. I mean, like all the people out in the farms, because I mean, I live in an area where there's plenty of vineyards. I mean, I guarantee you that if ICE actually showed up to take care, like to take these people away, more than half of them would be gone.
I mean,
Like they just, and then on top of that, I don't know if you know that what their living conditions are here when they're here.
see,
Because I could briefly,
and I wouldn't agree
I
with
could briefly
taking them away
enlighten you.
though. Like, my whole thing is like actually give them like status. I mean, criminally wise,
Well,
immigrants don't.
but why?
Why not? It doesn't hurt anything if they're already living here. If they're already
No, it does.
contributing.
It absolutely does. It hurts. It hurts the lowest people on the ladder who are already here. This has been the argument. Even Cesar Chavez admitted that this was the case back when he was going for farmers' rights.
That's the thing,
Like he
though.
admitted,
If you
he did not.
legalize all of them, then they have workers' rights. That way, they can
Then
fight
what's
for
the-
their actual rights, like to get paid better,
Again,
to
but
get
why-
taken care of.
Again, but why do it?
Why not? It doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't hurt to have.
No, it does. I just told you why it does.
I just told you the resolution with it,
It's like-
though. Like, if you give all of them rights, then they have rights to fight back for their living conditions.
They shouldn't be here in the first place. Like, because the people I'm
Why
talking
not?
about are.
Why
they're
shouldn't they be
illegal
here?
immigrants. Because they're illegal immigrants. This isn't their country.
I mean, if we're gonna go technical, like, we're not.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
like,
Please spare me the Native Americans.
I mean, we
Please.
did no. That's like a good argument though. Like we
Please.
stole the
Please
country
spare-
from the
no,
Native
it's
Americans.
Not, actually.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
not.
like
They did not have civilization before.
they did not have. They had many They had many different civilizations.
They had many tribes running around.
they did
scalping
have
each
civilization. They had hierarchies. They had groups. They had technologies of their own kind. They had everything. I mean,
Sure.
how can you claim like
Sure
the
they did,
Aztecs or
but
the
it was not
Mayans did not have
nearly-
like a massive civilization of advancements on their own? I mean, chocolate, like, that was one of their biggest things that came from them. And I don't know anyone who doesn't like chocolate.
I mean, that's talking about like Southern America and Latin America. I'm talking about the United States. The Algonquians did not have anything resembling a functional society aside from small tribes scattered throughout the hinterland.
Well, what about where I am?
Like there was
I'm in
there
New
was
Mexico.
there was
We had
nothing
the
to
Pueblos.
steal.
We had the Zunis and the Pueblos. I mean, when you talk about the whole vast of the U.S., like, you're comparing like one tribe to the next. Like, you have the ones that are the migrant tribes that actually move around, and then of course you have the more stationaries, which are a little bit easier to hold a hierarchy. Which again, like the Pueblos are probably a good example of this because they do have more of a hierarchy with their setup. But I mean, when the Spaniards came in, they like again fucked their life. No, I'm not denying that, like, proportionally wise are actually, do you agree that like, just as a side note, do you agree with how the Indians are treated in the US?
Like, do I think that it's a good thing?
Yeah, like how
Is that kind of like what you're
Well,
leading
like,
me to like.
I don't know if you like are aware of their like living conditions. Like we have reservations, but like
I
a lot
am.
of those reservations like do not like have running water. They don't have electricity. They
No.
don't like communication is so like varied. And a lot of the times when they send people off to kind of get an education and come back, they don't want to come back because like the living conditions are just terrible.
Well, I am mostly because I used to live near Chuck Chansey in California.
Mm.
So like I'm pretty aware of like what the average tribes person's living conditions are like as opposed to the ones running the casino.
Right. Like, and people
And
get that mixed
that's
up.
not like a bigoted statement either. Like that is just how it is there. Like the ones who run the casino like just basically swim in cash, get drunk every night, and then like the regular people are just left to basically play in the dust.
Right. Project Manhancer, wanted to ask, like, do you think that they have a society now, like with their chiefs and everything?
I would argue no.
No.
Well, I mean, and like
So
not that's not just me being like, an irrational bigot, but like a lot of like what their societies are is it's just emulating what Europeans have had before.
so define
And
what a
it's
society is then
well,
to
and it's
you.
Yeah, like, well, what's a society in your mind?
well, like a functional civilization.
I mean, they're functionally, they have people that live there, they have people that have
I
children,
mean,
they grow food, I mean, they have leaders.
You just said that they don't have running water though.
I mean,
Like that's not
Yeah, and that's our
functional.
fault. That's
yeah,
America
that's
fucking
a lot of
them.
Americans' fault. That's not exactly their fault. But I mean, you just to say they don't have running water, then half of actually more than half of human like history, like you wouldn't count them as a society then if they didn't have running water, if that was your qualification.
Oh, no, obviously not in the modern day. I'm talking about like, recent like modern society. Like in particular, like now, if we were comparing what would have been in the 16 and 1700s, like the closest people who had anything to what the Europeans had were the Japanese, and the Japanese were completely isolated aside from trading with some of the local Asiatic nations such as China and some of the other like Pacific islands nearby. But like they still had something that you would say is a functioning society.
I mean,
Like a hunter-gatherer tribe is not a society. That is the most like it technically is a society, but it's just so primitive that like how could you not move beyond that with how long you've had this entire continent to yourself?
Yeah, maybe we should help them.
I mean, kind of are, but it doesn't
Uh,
seem to help. I mean, we've tried to help Africa for at least the last century. I mean, and look at most of Africa.
just because I wanted to see what the proper Google definition is, and I'll just read it out loud. It says the vagrant of people living together in a more or less ordered community, an organization or club formed from a particular purpose or activity, which I think that's probably more of like, I don't know what you call.
Well, it's a disambiguation or a disambiguation, excuse me.
But
Like, I mean, yeah, like they had societies, but like they're not like functional societies. Like it's a hunter gathering and like being nomadic is as primitive as it gets. Like even the Carthaginians had a more organized society than the Algonquians did when we arrived.
I mean, as I said, you're kind of lumping all of them together. Like, as I said, the Pueblos, what you would probably defy as, I think they did have irrigations. I do believe they did. I can double check that though. I believe they did have irrigations and things like that. And
I would imagine if they came from the same group that like the Aztecs and a lot of those developed civilizations were, then yeah, I imagine they probably did. It's probably a holdover from them being Aztecs, if that's the case. I don't know the history of the Pueblos, so
yeah,
I'm just assuming.
I grew up in New Mexico, so like when we go to New Mexico, it is typical. Okay, thank you. 1 second. Sorry. But like in scenarios like that, like, and you don't really know that either, because I mean, I think the biggest theory for, I guess, human migration was that they came up from Russia and downward, not upward. That's the biggest theory I've heard.
Yeah, I believe that's like the main theory that's still like held to be like the most credible one.
There's a couple others, like there's
But-
like the belief that they came from China because they found like a Chinese chicken in like bottom of South America. But yeah, no, for theories wise, like they came downward. I mean, they could have. I mean, that's the thing, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but when it comes to a lot of like historical ideas, I don't know. Historical ideas, like things migrate, like, and that's another like point, like for just basic human society and religion and growth. I mean, look at the profession from like the 1800 or 19. It's like older than that. A merchant would travel and tell stories, and things would change.
Well,
through
it depends on what part of the world you're talking about, though. Because if you're talking about England, like the standard English person never really left the isle, like the English Isles.
Oh well, yeah, no, because they were considered barbarians by the Romans.
Well, no, I'm talking about like we're talking about the 1800s.
Yeah.
Like if we're talking about the 1800s, like the standard English person would have rarely left unless they were a part of like West India Company.
Yeah. Well, let's see here, because when did Columbus find America? Columbus.
Well, I think we should try and like go back to the original topic, just because I think we've kind of like segued.
Yeah, no, sorry about that.
Into the weeds a little bit.
And
not a problem.
All right, and I mean, like, just to kind of give you a percentage, like, only for Native Americans, just to let everyone keep in mind, they only have Native Americans are about 1.3% of the U.S. population. Ironically, what is it? Hispanic whites would be considered, they're closer to the 50% mark. They're a little over 50, but from there, it's like a mixture of a melting pot.
Well, yeah, it's a mixture of various different like Indio tribes.
So, okay, and you're from California, so when it comes to, I guess, like a Hispanic that's been like second or third generation, where do they stand in your mind?
Depends on if they're educated or not.
Educated? Like, have they been to like school and they know English?
No, I'm talking about like higher education, like college and above, because I probably would not have an issue with like Latinos coming over here if they would, well, for one, assimilate to society, and that's not really something that a lot of generation immigrants do. Like the legal ones will, like, however, a lot of the illegal ones, barrios and stuff, don't do that. Like they don't bother to learn English. They just speak Spanish from whenever they get here till they die. Like that's my main issue with.
Do you have an article for that one? I've never heard that before.
I mean, that sounds anecdotal. Really? Like, I've met people like that, sure, but like, there's no...
It's really not.
Do you have research to suggest that it's a significant number of the population?
Not in my article dump that I gave you guys, but, I mean, if you've ever have you ever, like, what parts of California have you been to?
I mean, I've been to California. I'm from New Mexico, though, so I'm a bordering state to Mexico.
I mean, sure, there's people that don't learn English, but their kids usually do, and within one generation, they're usually assimilated, if not the generation that comes here.
I mean, sure, like I'm willing to grant you that. Obviously, the second generation is going to have an easier time because they're going to grow up living in the society that they're trying to assimilate into. Like, I'll give you that one. However, a lot of these first generation immigrants, that's not the case because a lot of them come here as grown adults. A lot of it, like, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, it's kind of a 50, because some of them do try to learn some English and enough English to survive. Like, I don't think they learn absolutely none. Like, that's the
I mean, like again, like, I'll grant you that.
Like, and I'm talking about first generation, the first people to come over here. Like, there are people that try.
Okay.
I mean, where I'm actually from, believe it or not, like, the population is actually it's higher Hispanic than white. It's like.
No, I believe that.
It's like 45% like Hispanic, 40% white, and then others, the rest.
I mean, yeah, I believe that because my mother teaches in a school district that is 85% Hispanic. Right. So, like, yeah, I believe that.
Truthfully, again, I do honestly believe is and like, how long do you even think like it takes to actually be like, because you know the whole immigration process, how long it takes to actually be a citizen, depending on what type of immigration form you do?
Well, yeah, depending on if you're seeking asylum, it could take anywhere from, I want to say, 1 to 5 years for asylum. At least that's if it's expedited. And for like the regular process, it can sometimes take up to 20 years.
Oh yeah. So for someone to go through the whole thing and become a full-on citizen, would you at least say, like, after going through that process, especially I mean, it's anecdotal, but I've been through the immigration process for an ex-significant other that ended, but going again through net now. So with that process in mind, like, it's not an easy process, and it's not easy to take advantage of, where I think a lot of people think it really is.
Well, no, it's not the legal process that's taken advantage of. That's kind of a misnomer with like the normie cons. A lot of the normie cons think it's the actual system. It's not the actual system of immigration. It's the people it's the catch and release that's being taken advantage of. Because when they're released, yeah, they can release them into the country and they give them a court date, and like, are you really going to show up for your court date if you've already gotten here? If you've already like managed to get to your end game, like, why would you even bother coming back?
Right. I mean, it's
especially if you go to a sanctuary city like San Francisco.
Right.
Then they can't do anything to you.
And just to make a comment to the chat, yeah, you kind of want to be a little. They're asking why I'm not being rougher. I'll be frankly honest.
Yeah, you're too nice.
You can't. What is it? What's the very old saying? You catch more flies with honey than vinegar.
Well, yeah, you get the bees with honey.
I mean, I'm meaner, but you're lucky you're not debating me.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, like, we kind of like agreed to be kind of like more civil and a little more
Sure.
like, easy.
I'm just not normally civil with people who have like your kind of beliefs, just because.
Well,
it's not as bad as I thought. I mean, like, I'll be honest. Like, if you check out this guy's,
did you
like,
think I was gonna be the screaming wig gnat?
No, actually, like, after
I was
like
gonna be a screaming, flailing wig gnat.
Looking.
With, like, oh my god, just.
No, you've been very polite.
Well, looking at your Twitter, I'll just be honest. Like, going over, like, looking at your Twitter, it just seemed like extreme. Like, I just don't like being around black people, and then that's it.
Well, a lot of that is tongue in cheek. A lot of that is tongue in cheek.
So why don't you like black people?
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily that I don't like black people. Like, that's kind of a misnomer. Like, with a lot, I mean, that's actually a misnomer with a lot of people within the third position, alt-right, whatever we feel like calling ourselves this week. A lot of us just don't want to be around them because they're different from us, and we don't like. And like, the differences are enough to where we just don't want to be, like, it's uncomfortable.
So don't be around
like,
them.
A lot of.
Like.
Well, that's.
Hang around with your white friends.
Well, you would think, but I mean, I don't know if you know this. You don't actually have the right of association in the United States.
I mean, it's not like, okay, obviously if you go to the grocery store and let's say it's a black clerk, but like it just because like you don't like to look at the person doesn't mean like they are not a human being.
No. That's not at all what that's not. Again, like, that's a mischaracterization of the point I'm making. Is that the cultural differences are significant enough to where people within my camp just don't want to be around it. And we don't have the right of association to make an explicitly white neighborhood. Instead, you have to use things like the phenomenon of redlining exists, just not in the way that sociology teaches you that it exists.
Well, do you have any studies on that?
He might actually.
Because I actually have studies on how redlining absolutely does exist, and it's a huge problem.
Oh yeah. Well, no, like I said, it does exist, just not in the way sociology teaches it to you. It's like a lot of black people have bad credit. I don't know if like.
I wonder why.
Buy into that stereotype. Well, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I mean, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So for that, like.
Oh God, who's the one writing the loan? Oh God.
No. It's like they tend to get worse loans than the average white person. They get worse loans with like worse everything right off the bat, like regardless of their color. The other thing with that is like you also got to look at Okay, Jamie wants to ask you one more question.
Okay, wait. I,
Okay.
I actually have something. I have something. Wait. So you just said you just said like right who's writing the loans, right? So you're saying it's the Jews, right? It's the Jews that are racist against the black people, like the Jews are fucking over the black people. So why do you agree with Jews on black people?
No, I don't agree with Jews on black people.
I mean, it seems
I
like
just
yeah,
don't.
you both like hate black people and want to fuck. Well, not hate them, but you don't want
No,
to be around
no,
them.
no,
You
no, 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 no.
you want to. I just find that funny.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna shill a book. I'm gonna shill a book that I
Oh
read
no.
a couple months ago. It's called The Secret History of the Black and the Jew, and it goes over why Jews have taken advantage of blacks since time immemorial. Because I don't know if you knew this, but most of the people who owned plantations and owned slaves were actually
Yeah.
Jewish.
Okay.
Most of
So
the
if
ships
that's
that brought
true,
blacks
wouldn't
over
you
here
want
were
to?
Jewish.
Okay, fine. So if that's true, wouldn't you want to stick it to the Jew and say like, no, fuck you. I'm actually going to be an ally to black people, unlike you people who have fucked them over for generations.
Blacks don't want to be my ally. They've made it abundantly clear. They have made it abundant.
How
I
about
don't know. I
who
don't
are
know
you to
if you've
speak for
paid
blacks? Because
attention
I know
to
plenty
what's
of black people who want to be allies with. Well, maybe they don't want to be your ally, but that's because you're racist.
exactly. See, they don't want to be my
Well,
Because
ally.
you're a
like,
Now you're
racist. Like
speaking for
what?
them.
I don't want to be.
Well, now you're.
okay, hold on a
Well,
second.
no. I mean,
Okay, I'm done. It's
just
fine.
allow
You can
me
keep
to.
going. I'm sorry. I had
No,
to
it's
cut
okay.
in because that was like really like disingenuous. I'm sorry.
No, no, I mean, will allow me to elaborate. So let's see what. So like the idea is like, well, if you dislike the Jew so much and you recognize that the Jew is the bigger fish to fry, why not team up with blacks? I mean, and I actually would happily do that. I would happily work with someone like Malcolm X because Malcolm X did work with someone who had very similar politics to myself, George Lincoln Rockwell. But I don't know if you guys knew that they actually worked pretty close together.
Yeah,
But
but
anyways,
Malcolm X changed his like opinion, especially like on segregation on its own, because he did realize it was a
well,
necessary evil
he
to
changed.
push like for, but he realized that that wasn't going to work. It wasn't actually going to help his people.
He changed his mind the same way that a lot of the people change their minds when they lose. But anyways, I digress. That's like his idea of like why he was wrong. Other
So are you gonna change
things
your
to
mind
get
when you
into.
lose?
No.
No. So like
Yeah,
when like
actually,
we become like
change
lefty
actually
commie
doesn't
land.
work that way. Actually, hold on a second. Yeah, no, change actually comes from personal growth. It doesn't really happen from just loss. It's from actually understanding and empathizing.
Oh well, then these people will never change.
Oh, oh boy, we're gonna go with Nietzsche, like
God.
the necessity of suffering.
Oh god. Oh well, I do think. Okay, I ask you just because I want to get into the art part of it. For in your honest opinion, do you think the best art is made through a hardship and basically suffering? I guess like through hardship of society or cultural or oppression.
I mean, yes, I do actually. I do believe that. Like I do adhere to the Nietzschean idea of like the necessity of pain and suffering and eventually overcoming it. Mostly because history has shown that at least people in my camp typically do come to power at some point. I mean, and I would obviously like to see that. I mean, like, who wouldn't want their group to be in power?
I mean, I don't care.
I mean, like, that's usually like spoken from the perspective of someone who's already in power. Like, I'm not trying to be accusatory or anything like that, but that's
Um,
usually the attitude of someone
I'm not even
who's
close to
already in
empower.
the.
I'm a hugely oppressed minority, so
Okay,
but
but
I don't
anyway.
care. I don't care if there's people like me. I just care if there's people who are allied with the, positions that I agree with and the values I hold. I think that's more important.
Well, yeah, doesn't everybody?
I don't care what they look like, right?
Well, I mean, most people do.
Right. Well, like okay, because my
Well, I
question
mean, yeah,
is
most people. Okay.
yeah, because I want to go back to the art part of it. Like so do you agree with like rock? Like okay, so obviously like due to black culture, like jazz was made, rock was made. I don't think. I think when I was in the argument with you on Twitter, like you were not for rap. Are you for rock and like the other things that have come from the black culture, from like jazz and things like that?
Well, I mean, sure, but we don't have to have black people here to have black culture.
I mean, if they weren't here though,
And
that
like,
wouldn't
there's not a whole.
exist.
Well,
If they weren't here, they wouldn't
well, I
exist
mean,
at all.
because I mean, you don't have to appreciate anime and have a bunch of Japanese people in your neighborhood.
No,
do
but
you?
that's not my point. My point is like anime
I mean,
anime didn't come from like the suffering of Japanese people who were brought to a country and enslaved and then
well,
well, you can get into where anime comes from.
Anime is actually based off of like American animation, but it's
Sure,
adapted to Japanese.
but I'm saying like jazz and the blues and like all of that wouldn't have existed if black people had stayed in Africa. It was an amalgamation of like white culture and black culture to create something different.
Also, like the suffering. I mean, like the blues. I mean, the blues is about depression, basically, in short.
And that's
on
many other genres.
It's about being in the blue.
Yeah, like for its
like
name.
our culture would not be what it is right now if it weren't for black people in America.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, I see your point.
We probably agree. We
Yeah.
probably agree, just on different terms. But like I agree with you. Yeah, it definitely would be different.
Whatever.
I mean, I understand that this is upsetting to you, but like I've argued with enough people who have different opinions to mine that like it just doesn't upset me anymore.
Oh, I'm not upset, honey.
I guess because I mean, at this point, we're going in for close to an hour, but mine's trying to take some questions from the chat if they would just want to like call stuff out. But one person was wondering if you were anti-union or not.
No, I'm actually pro-union.
You are pro-union? Okay, that's good.
Okay, actually, you know what? I actually really want to ask you this because I know a guy who is very pro-union and he believes that one of the biggest ways to actually change shit in this country would be to like have a just apolitical, a broad like workers union where like everybody, you know, we just fight for workers' rights in this country, whether you're left, right, black, white, Hispanic, whatever, and we say no. Like we'll focus on those like social issues that we have like our differences on later, but right now what we need to do is take back like the power from those like, you know, like taking our rights. How would you feel about something like that?
Well, I mean, unions are supposed to be apolitical. I mean, obviously they're not. But like, they're also the reason why something like that will inevitably fail is because unions, as long as they've existed, have always been susceptible to communist subversion. It's just the cost of having them.
I mean, that's base though. I like communist subversion. Depends on the communism, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. Like, I mean, obviously, if it was some type of socialism or communism that benefited me, yeah, I'd be all gung ho about it. But I can't guarantee that. So I would rather have that apolitical union. However, over time, it's going to be eroded away because that's inevitably what happens. I mean, if you've seen the state of modern unions now, that is just what happens.
So you'd be too reluctant to join something like that then? Or would you consider it if there were like a big like national?
I'd be all for it, but I would be on constant patrol
and
be like
fair
a
enough.
watchdog to make sure that we're not being subverted.
So just so I can get some of the chat, one wants to know if you're a Holocaust denier.
How are we defining that though?
I mean, do you believe? Okay, so I guess I would go with
like that's like okay, yeah, like as we got to get into like the
did you believe Hitler?
Well, do you believe 60 million Jews were killed?
Yeah.
60 million Jews. Do you believe they were killed by Nazi Germany?
I do not believe that 6 million Jews were maliciously killed by the Nazis.
Okay, do you believe it's a less amount of people? Like, do you believe he at least rounded up some Jews and killed them?
All right, let me just get through this quickly, very uninterrupted. Okay. So I believe that if there were any Jews killed, it was significantly lower than 6 million, possibly closer to what their actual population would have been, which was around 3 million on the entire continent. And I believe that the rest of the numbers were various other people who were put into work camps, because Jews were not the only ones put into these work camps. Eastern Europeans were put in, communist sympathizers were put in, as well as various other people whom the Nazis deemed dregs to society.
So, sure. I guess a follow-up question would be, why do
I
you
don't.
think they would lie
Yeah.
about that though? Like, why do you think that the numbers are like?
Well, I mean, what? Well, why aren't you allowed to question it in like various European countries without being in prison?
I mean,
Like, it's just
In
a power.
prison?
It's just a
What?
power flex. Yes, you can go to prison in various European countries
I mean,
just for saying that even something just like 6 million didn't die. You will be thrown in prison.
I disagree with those types of laws, but
Well,
I
but
don't.
again,
That doesn't mean
it does not matter if you disagree with them. It's a power play.
that doesn't mean though that
It's a
they're. It
well,
could just.
but why would it matter? Like, why would it matter?
Honestly, well, I
Like,
mean,
it's like,
Germany has some pretty dumb laws about what you can and can't talk about
well,
with
it's not
Nazi
just Germany
Germany.
though.
No, sure, but like a
It's
lot
not
of
just
countries,
Germany.
I'm not admitting that I'm not denying there's some whitewashing and shit and some like maybe like people just don't like being talking about, I don't know, but I think it's more like a sensitivity thing where it's like you're gonna say like 6 million Jews didn't die in the Holocaust when my grandmother died in the Holocaust and whatever. I don't think that there should be laws based on shit like that, but I don't necessarily means that just because I don't think that just because there are those laws that it means that it's some conspiracy. I think you have to like show proof for
Well,
that.
no. Well, no, there's more to it than that. But the point I'm trying to get across is that invoking the Holocaust is a power play in politics. Like, because what's going
Sure.
to get you run out of the RNC and the DNC?
Well, anyway. That was one of our viewer
Yeah,
questions.
because
You want to go to another one?
they are both.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, because it's just the other person is what's your stance? I guess because they only said homosexuality. I want to know your stance on homosexuality and trans rights.
I mean, I'm kind of just indifferent to it. Like,
Well, are you
it's
for
not
trans rights?
Well, I mean, again, like I'm just indifferent to it. Like, it doesn't really affect me.
Well.
Like,
So
I
if
mean,
you're not against it,
I understand. Well, I understand as a trans individual, like you have a little bit of me, like you have a stake in this,
right?
right?
And
I mean,
I'm.
and like my thing
Well, that's why I just
is
want
I
to know
just
if
don't
you're
have
an
a stake
ally or
in
not.
it.
Like, I want to. Well, I know you don't have a stake in it. I just want to know, like, are you are you against me as an individual, or are you for trans rights? Like,
I mean, well, like, how are we defining trans rights?
Yeah.
Like, that's what I mean. Like, when we get into these things, like, we have to understand because people don't use like the same language, as it were.
Okay, I guess what
how
would
about
be like? Are you one of those people that okay? So is a trans male to female a woman? Yes or no?
Well, no.
Yeah.
wow?
So they are not a female at all. So okay. So I
No.
guess what the next question is, because no matter what, they are not a female. Even if they get bottom surgery,
No.
even if they go through hormones, just no.
No.
So you are not for trans
No.
rights then. Okay. That's what it needs to go down to.
Well, I mean, and that's what I mean. But like, does that necessarily mean that I'm against trans rights? All I'm
Well,
saying is just
okay,
my
fine.
opinion
I'll ask it a
on,
better
like,
way. Are you for basic human rights for transgender individuals?
I mean, sure, but like again, how are we defining basic human rights?
Whatever.
Because like because see, that's what I mean. Like when we get into these kinds of arguments,
Yeah.
like your idea may not be the same as mine.
I mean,
Obviously,
Trump.
Obviously, with my politics, we probably have.
I think
very
Trump
different,
has like shit
like,
on like transgender rights recently. Do you agree with like Trump making it so that like transgender women are no longer welcome into homeless shelters?
I mean, I don't know about that. Like, I mean, like I just don't have any background on it. 'Cause,
Whatever.
Like I said, I'm
Fair
completely
enough.
indifferent.
This is
like I
fine.
said, I'm completely
This is off the
indifferent
cuff.
to it.
Like this is also like audience asking questions.
Yeah. Well, I have this new thing, and I'll admit I stole it from Vosh, but whatever. He's not trans, so I can absolutely appropriate that. Where I get all the guests who come on the channel to say trans rights. So, and if you don't, then you're
No,
not invited back. That's the rule.
I mean, like, yeah, if you ever, I mean, I guess, yeah, if you guys want to make this a regular thing, I don't mind. Like, I'll say it if you guys just want a guest who's willing to talk to you.
It's not
But,
really
like,
a
I
guest
mean,
that's willing to talk.
I'm not.
It's a guest that you're
But like I
completely
said,
different background. Like it's.
I'm
I-
I'm just
yeah.
I'm just playing around. It's I'm having fun with you,
I
buddy,
mean,
because
like,
I know
well,
it.
no, I mean, yeah, it's just Bance. Like, I get it. But like, my thing is like,
By
you
the
shouldn't
way,
take
that
my indifference
your voice
as
sounds really
malice.
familiar. You sound like super familiar. Doesn't he sound familiar, Chess?
I
We
don't know
haven't
what.
met you before, have we?
No. Also,
You know what I'm thinking though, right?
yeah, I know. What you're
Like
thinking.
that when he said Bance, I was like, oh my god, no. I'm sorry, you sound like my old co-host.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Do black cats' lives matter?
Black cats' lives.
Black cats. I mean, I like animals. Like, yeah, they do.
Damn.
I think I actually got Ella
I
to
mean,
talk
yeah,
into
that
the mic.
there's a thing you'll see me fed post about. Like, I mean, since we're kind of still off in tangent land, I mean, there's a thing you'll see me actively fed post about is when like animals are mistreated.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think that's like again another common ground. Very few people are pro the pain of animals.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why Ella keeps looking at everything else except the camera. Okay, I'll stop torturing Kitty.
Do you have any more questions from the chat?
I know there's one that went back. I don't know if we want to go back to it. Where was it? What does communist subversion mean? Can you provide an example of it happening within a union in the U.S.?
Yeah, I actually can. So Henry Ford, when his factories were up and running, I like we could get into some of the history of Henry Ford, but I'll kind of like trim the fat for you guys because like you kind of need to know a little bit more of the history than what I'm gonna share with you. But for the sake of time, I'll just like cut straight to the chase. So Henry Ford's factories, actually, there was a union working within them, and they did have a socialist uprising because at the time they called themselves Social Democrats, and it was the same thing that they called themselves in Weimar, the Weimar Republic, and pre-Weimar Germany time. And they had infiltrated one of the unions, and they had managed to organize a strike.
Hmm.
I mean, like, so I mean, I don't know if you guys are communists or not, but like, I would actually encourage you guys to look into like the social democrats of the 1910s and 20s.
I'm sorry. I think Ella just made a great escape, and I think that's what that weird noise was that came from Jamie. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
Okay.
But
Any more other questions? Oh, stance on age of consent. We're really going down that one?
I mean, why does it need to be changed?
I guess it's probably more are you on the pedophilia side versus the like age of consent of being 18.
No.
Yeah.
That is a hard no from me, dog.
I think most people are. I know there's exceptions like Epstein.
I mean, like, I'm surprised it wasn't followed up with a question on maps.
Yeah, no. That I don't. I'll be honest. I haven't met any conservatives, honestly, that have taken the pedophilia side. At least, not that I'm aware of.
It's mostly libertarians.
Libertarians.
It's mostly libertarians, and like they have their place against.
The only person I can think of who is pro pedophilia that has been on YouTube, and I have no clue if you even heard of him, is Amos, and Amos got blacklisted.
Amos Yee.
Oh, Amos Yee. Yeah, I know of him. I don't know any specifics on the guy.
Yeah,
he's disgusting.
He's beyond disgusting.
I mean, I would assume if he's attracted to minors, that,
well,
yeah,
he doesn't claim
kind
to
of
be
given.
himself, but he says he advocates for it, which means he probably is himself. Like, let's be honest.
Well, yeah. Which, I mean, if we're following the guilty conscience logic, it probably means that. Probably means he's looked at some teenagers a little, just a second too long.
I guess there was a comment from Project saying Henry Ford, author of such American classics as the Intel Jew, mentioned favorable by Hitler.
The International Jew.
Oh,
yes, I'm aware.
Yeah, I'm just reading it verbatim because it's shortened because it's
But like, I mean, I've read the International Jew. I mean, like a lot of Hitler and Ford's critiques on Jews at the time are accurate, especially when you have Jews in the modern era saying that communism and socialism are Jewish constructs.
I'll be honest, I can never understand the Jewish thing. I'll be real with everyone in the channel too.
Because it makes no
Have you ever
sense.
It makes no sense to me.
Have you ever met a Jew?
Yes, actually.
Yeah.
Really?
I grew up.
Oh.
I grew
Like,
up with a. I
oh,
grew up
really?
with a Jewish family, and here's an interesting thing, because I grew up in a Christian family. Like, my family was like fundamentalist Christian, and we had like friends that were like Jews, and they were like Orthodox Jews, and we pretty much believed like 90% of the same shit, and we lived pretty much the same, like we had the same values and all that, and we got along. We were like, there was no difference. Like, it was just like meeting other Christians.
Yeah, like, and then the Jewish person I'm thinking of who
Okay.
actually, he did go through the whole, like, ceremony at 13. He did the whole, like, what you would classify as, like, the Jewish religion from, like, childhood. Now, as an adult...
Oh, yeah, like the bar mitzvah and all that good stuff.
Yeah, as an
right?
adult, though, he identifies as atheist, but, like,
I would.
I mean, most of them do.
yeah.
I mean, religion is dumb, but like, why hold a vendetta against a group of people who maybe I could grant you, maybe some of them are disproportionately wealthy, but there's plenty that aren't,
It doesn't.
that don't.
It doesn't have anything to do with wealth.
Then what's the contention then? Like, I don't get it. Is it just
Well,
they're
it's
different? They're
it's-
smelly.
It's it's a minority population receiving a lot of special treatment from our government, as well as receiving ideas for legislation from them. Like the 1965 Immigration Act was co-written by a Jew. And then on top of that, you also have the largest lobbying organizations in the United States, all being Jewish organizations. And like, so these people do have a disproportionate amount of power compared to even the rich white person.
I mean, again, though, even if that's true, that still doesn't speak to the entire group.
Well, no, and I'm not painting a blood libel on these people. I'm just saying, like, it is what it is. Like that, just Jews seem to
What,
have a disproportionate
bad?
amount of power.
They smell. Do they smell?
No.
Did a Jew like piss you off once? Did like a Jew steal your girlfriend or something?
No, it doesn't have anything to do with that. It's just, like I said,
Okay.
it's just they have disproportionate power. They have a disproportionate sway over legislation, as well as a power.
I mean, so why not just be against the powerful Jews? And how about the people who aren't Jews, who are also
Well, I
their
am.
best buddies? Like, what? Why does Jew even have to enter into it? Like, if they all happen to be black or Hispanic, like,
Well,
it wouldn't make a difference. They're people that are in
I
power
don't
that
know.
are fucking us.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard one of the famous quotes from Mein Kampf, but there's a quote in it where he says, you can call him a scoundrel, a liar, swindler, but call him what he truly is, the Jew, and see how he recoils.
What?
Like,
No, but that's like
well,
irrelevant. No, that's like no, that's literally like saying.
Hold on.
That's literally like saying, oh, if you're no, that's like saying, who's like a piece of shit fat person? I don't know, Boogie2988. That's like saying, Boogie2988 is a fucking emotionally manipulative douchebag, but instead of attacking him for that, you attack him for what really hurts him. Attack him for being a fat fucking piece of shit. Like, what? No, attack people for what they actually do that's wrong, not like for their fucking ethnic group. Like, that's irrelevant.
Well, no, there's a whole nother layer to that. Is because we've seen through America's history that Jews pretend to be white, and then when you call them out for being Jewish,
They're
all of a
pretty
sudden
much
they
white.
recoil.
They're
They're not, though.
They look white.
They
A lot of
objectively
them,
are
a
not.
lot of them are like objectively part of white culture, and they don't act like they act like normal Americans.
Mm-mm.
Like, maybe some of them go to synagogue once in a while or whatever, but like a lot of Christians go to their fucking stupid churches. Like, it's no different.
Well, Jews objectively are not white.
I mean,
They're objectively not white.
sure,
If you-
but they
if
look.
you
I'm saying they
believe-
look it
if you
and they act
believe
it.
that they're
And what's
white-
the difference? There are. Oh my God.
It's okay.
Dude,
breathe.
There are black people that act more white than like some white people. Like
Sure,
you're
but they
trying.
don't pretend to be white.
They're-
don't claim to be white.
They
and
grow
then
up
when
in
you
an
call them
American
for what
culture. They feel white.
And when you call them for what they really are, they don't recoil in fear and act like you've figured out like that they're hiding something.
Why would they? What? Why? Wait. Why
I mean,
would they?
okay, so
What?
you're missing my point. You're missing the point of what I'm trying to make. Trying to come like, sorry. You're missing the point I'm trying to make here. Is like black, white presenting blacks don't claim to be white, and then when you say, well, no, you're actually black, they don't recoil in fear.
Well, how many?
Why did
Wait,
you
how many
do that?
Jews recoil? How many Jews recoil in fear when you call them a Jew? What? I haven't met any.
A lot.
Do you like? Okay,
I don't know, like,
cool story.
I don't know. Like,
A lot.
I've met a lot of white people that said, "I just hate black people just
even,
because."
Okay, well,
actually,
Like-
just
no. Here's the thing. Why even pretend to be white in the first place?
Because because people who are not white are shit on, and are like marginalized and
I mean,
and
wait. So
claim to be not real Americans.
If you want to like exit out race and act like race doesn't exist and get rid of it as a concept and just accept everyone as human, I'm all for that.
I mean, yeah.
I mean,
Because honestly,
like, we are all human.
the only reason that
Races
people,
still
I'll
exist.
tell you right now, the only reason these people feel the need to claim to be white is because they feel like if they're not, like then they feel like they have to be taken seriously in society.
Also,
And they
Why
feel
would
like they
they?
need to be,
They have-
because
they
if they don't, people like you
have
will
an
say they don't
entire
belong. No,
addendum to say.
shut up. No, shut up. Because people like you will say they don't belong here. That's the problem. Because when they say they're not white, people like you say they don't belong here. That's the problem.
Well, because they don't.
But by what metric? We're all born on this fucking planet. Explain to me what thing in nature exists that tell us what little segments of the country we belong in.
Well, I mean, if we want to go based off of the continents and by how they're named, we can do that.
I mean,
That's
we
fine.
all come from
Like,
Africa. We literally all come from
oh,
Africa.
Oh, see, okay, this is what we call tactical nihilism. This is like when
I'm a
someone
nihilist.
makes a point. I would imagine, but anyways, so this is what we call tactical nihilism, where like someone actually does have a somewhat relevant point, but we move the goalpost back into increasingly further nihilism to a point where it's just
Because I think it's all
well,
meaningless.
Maybe
I think these lines we drew are meaningless. I think they don't appear in nature. I think they don't have any fucking use except to divide people
you
further.
Can believe that. You can believe that, but obviously people in power do like think the contrary. Sorry, like
I
it
mean,
just
people in
isn't-
power actually
I mean-
want immigration.
Yeah,
Open borders is a Koch
Yeah.
brothers idea, remember?
Yeah,
You guys like to point that
not-
one
not
out
for the re-
constantly.
Not for the reason you want.
Sure.
Not for the reason you want.
So I do want to keep asking some of the questions, and this
No,
has
go
to
ahead,
do
I'm
with
sorry.
this side was like, because I want to know, are you far down the rabbit hole where it's like you believe in the Illuminati?
No,
Okay, good. That's good.
no, I'm not a conspiracy person. I don't.
You're not a
read
conspiracy person, but
QAnon.
you believe that there's like a giant
No.
Jewish conspiracy. Oh yeah, whatever. Whatever, I'm fine. Keep going, Chaz.
I mean, it's not
love
a
you.
Jewish conspiracy. It's just Jews. It's just rich, powerful Jews working in tandem with each other to meet the same end.
Right.
Like, I mean, if that's a conspiracy, then I guess yeah, I am.
So you prove my point then that it happens to be rich, powerful
No,
Jews
well, I
working in
didn't,
tandem.
though.
So what does that
Didn't,
have
though.
to do
If
with other
anything, I just
Jews?
showed you that your point.
No, what does that have to
like,
do with
your
other
point
Jews?
To make it seem that I'm a crackpot just proved me right, though. So you do
Okay.
have plenty of powerful Jews working together for whatever ends that it is that they want.
And plenty of power
For
and
some
plenty
of
of
us, open
unpowerful
borders.
Jews who benefit 0% from that.
I mean, I'll be honest. If
Benefit
you're
from
gonna
what?
put this energy, I just say do it to the rich altogether. Just
Yeah,
because
like
top
fuck the
line-
rich. Like you
Like,
want to
the-
talk
the-
about how the rich suck? Yeah, I'll talk to you about that all fucking day. I'll be like, yeah, let's go after the fucking rich people. Like, let's go after these billionaires. Let's go after these fucking predatory fucking elites. But like, I don't know why Jew has to enter into it when we've already established they're not all Jewish.
Well, yeah. Most of the problem causers are, though. And like, all I'm saying is that that's what they are.
And most of the problem causers are
Like,
also
like,
white
that's all I'm
males.
saying. Like,
No,
all I'm
most of the
saying
ones that aren't
is
Jews are white
that's what they
males.
are.
They're white males. So yeah, So you as a white male
I
are
don't know if you've
responsible
ever
for that,
heard of a
right?
term called Shabbat Goy.
Can I hold you as a white male accountable
For what?
for the fucking atrocities of those in power who are not
No, I
Jews
mean,
but who are actually white males?
See, like, you're gonna slap me with a blood libel, but that's not what I'm doing.
But that's what you're doing. That's what you're fucking doing to the
That is not what I'm
Jews.
doing.
Laugh,
Yes,
remember, no
That's
cussing.
not what I'm
no
doing.
cussing.
I will fucking cuss on my channel all I want. This is my channel.
I mean, all I'm saying is like there are rich, powerful Jews working in tandem.
And there are rich, powerful white people. What's your point? There are rich, powerful white men.
Sure.
What?
Sure, but most of these ideas are originating.
Okay,
from
whatever.
Jews
Your
working
point. You're
together.
going in circles. Your point. You're an idiot. Well, Chess, you want to ask?
No,
Do you have any more?
I mean, like,
I can't. I'm done.
As I said, between a lot of the questions is a lot of other stuff. Does anyone else want to, like, who is pretending to be, that was more of a comment back towards him. Does anyone want to ask the last question for the evening? Because I know you have to go to work here soon, right?
I still have about another hour. I mean, that's provided if you guys want to continue till then.
I mean, I'm fine. I don't know how well the chat's doing. Racism, good story. So I guess there's another question, because again, we didn't really talk into this, but the chat, again, I originally argued with you on Twitter. Do you still hold the same stance? Because why not? Let's go to, like, the Founding Fathers argument.
Oh boy.
Do you still stand that only white land-owning men should have the right to vote?
For the most part, yes.
And I think you were the one that drew back on the land-owning, correct? You just think only white men should?
No, that was actually a different.
That was different. I know there was two I was arguing with, so I couldn't remember. So 100% you were like, I want...
So do you own land?
I do.
Yeah.
How much? So wait.
Enough.
So wait. Before you owned land, you wouldn't have been able to vote, though. You're fine with that. What
yeah,
if?
because I wasn't old enough to vote.
Well, what if you had like different circumstances and you weren't able to obtain that land?
Well, I mean, we can go down the field of whataboutery.
I mean,
like, it doesn't change.
you know,
I mean,
you know,
doesn't
most
change,
Americans.
That's my perspective.
But
on
you
it.
know, most Americans don't own land. So you want a society where
Yeah.
like the minority of the people have a say?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't specifically go off of just land, is my thing. If anything, I would make the age cap higher than what it is. I would make it so that people who are maybe 25, well, actually probably 30 or older.
Oh, is that because
And-
younger people skew left?
30? Well, like,
Is
yeah,
that
because
because-
that would
No,
actually
No,
mess
it's
up
not.
a lot.
It's
That would
it's
mess up a
actually not.
lot.
No, it's not.
Because, like,
No, it's actually
like,
not.
if you're at a point where you're living on your own and taking care of yourself, yeah, I think you definitely should have the right to vote, especially for things that may affect you in, like, small elections, especially, like, I mean, here where I live, like, with, like, roads and hospitals and funding for social programs and things like that. Like, there should definitely be... 30 is really too old for something like that.
Well, I mean, it is, but it isn't. The idea of raising it is so that you have more lived experience. At least that's kind of the modus operandi. Is because I mean, you're not the same person you were 5 years ago, were you?
I mean, for the most part, the thing I could say 5 years ago is I'm more political, but I still hold the same stances. I was always for gay rights, pro-life.
I mean, I'll admit it. I was a
pro-choice.
completely different person 5 years ago. I believed the exact,
Well, yeah.
not the exact opposite of what I believe, but I believed the opposite on a lot. And I agree, people can have their positions change, but I don't believe that just because someone is young and naive and has positions that aren't fully formed, that those positions aren't valid and that they shouldn't have a say in the political process. Because I mean, like, there's a lot of dumb fucking old people that don't fucking understand what they're voting for. I know a lot of old fucking geriatric
the
fucking.
boomer.
I mean, there's people on the left and people on the right who literally just turn on the TV. They say, okay, what is CNN telling me, or what is Fox News telling me, and okay, that's how I'm gonna vote. Like, you really think like just because you're over 30, like if you want to make that logic, then I'd say okay, then no one over 65 can vote either. Which I'm not fine with either of those things.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. I agree there should be an age cap on it too. Because,
No,
I mean, the boomers
No, I
the boomers
don't.
have fucked us beyond belief.
that was
No, the boomers, no, I'm serious.
No,
The
I
boomers
agree.
have
The
fucked us
boomer.
beyond
No, look.
belief.
I will say I agree. The boomers fucked us in a lot of ways. I agree that generation had a lot to do with fucking up our society in the way it is now. But that doesn't mean they don't get a say. Like they still live in this. Like I'm sorry. Like you can't convince me that it's like
they
a
don't
good
even
idea.
really live in it though, because they're living off Social Security and then hogging
which they paid
out at
into.
Walmart.
I mean,
Well, they actually don't anymore, but
yeah, and that's why no one's
boomers
gonna get it
have
anymore.
Boomers have consumed 3 times the amount that they put.
I
in
don't
to
agree.
Social
I don't
Security,
disagree that the boomers
even
have.
when adjusted for inflation.
Okay, I don't
So,
disagree
no,
that the
they
boomers
don't
have disproportionately benefited from that. However, like that doesn't mean they don't have a say in the political process. Like that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, also, like, you
They
kind
have
of want to
nothing
keep
to
in mind,
lose.
I think, honestly, anyone that has the energy, like, okay, from my stance, because I know you also agreed that, like, women shouldn't vote either. Like,
Okay.
I think as long as someone, because this is the case that goes on now, if you're actually into politics, if you're actually involved in it, and you do your time to do your own research, regardless of what stance you have, you should always have the right to vote. And, like, the ones that don't do that just don't end up voting. So, for that sake, yeah, I think everyone has the right to vote. They may not take advantage of it. Obviously, our last election, what was it, like 60% of like registered voters didn't even vote? Like, wasn't it some horrendous number? I don't know off the top of my head.
It was over. I know that much.
Yeah, it was insane. It was I know it was more than 50. But yeah, like if you have, if you're like for me, example, obviously I stay really close to politics. I do close to those things. Honestly, I should definitely have a right to vote because I'm one that actually is invested in it. And I, especially for like women, like in women's rights, because at that point we are just slaves then.
Well, not necessarily.
Yeah, we're brood
I mean,
mares. We don't get to say what we
go-
want. We don't get a
I
right
mean-
over our own body. Like, we would be fucked. Sorry for the language.
Okay, let's bring it down a little bit. Like, let's bring down the extremists down a tad. So, I mean, do you believe that women in the 1920s are more free than like women today? Because I would say yes, they are actually. Because let's see, they have the option of not working. Let's see. They have the option of not working.
I mean, women today still have the option of not working. If they like, there's plenty of men out there
Well,
who'd love to find a wife who will like just fuck
they
them and
do,
have
but
like
they
a traditional. Like no, there's a lot of actually men who like bitch because there's not enough traditional conservative women. But like there, if women want those men, they're out there.
Yeah, no, as I said, I will say...
The thing is our economy is not designed for only one person to be supporting a household.
Yeah, okay.
Which is why you don't see that.
Hold 1 second. Okay, so here's the problem with this. So you're saying a woman back then just because she didn't have to work. Well, that's not exactly freedom there. Because you know what? Back in the 1920s, if you were in an abusive relationship where a guy would beat you and you couldn't get him to show up to court for the divorce, you were stuck with him. There was no freedom. The right to vote, to actually have your own body. Like, it sucks to be in this position where, like, the thought of, like, preventative things like birth control, or even if something bad happens, like you get raped and you get pregnant, is taken away from our own rights. And yes, if it is with my rights as a personal human being, yes, I should have a right to vote on it.
Well, I mean, we can disagree then. Like, I mean, I know that sounds like a cop-out.
I mean,
there you go. I mean,
Chess. Do you want to kick this guy soon?
I think it's good. I think the chat's also kind of like at the
we can like we can bant with the chat or whatever for a while. Like I'm getting pretty sick of like the outright like, because no, motherfucker, like I'm gonna say this, like women were not freer. Okay, you can ask pretty much any woman, would you rather like have the ability to do whatever you want for the ability to like you just don't, you have like less responsibilities now but less freedoms. I'm sure most women would rather have the freedoms and the responsibilities, because it makes you a free person and an individual agent without like having to be a fucking brood mare to
if you ask a woman, would she rather go to work at Kohl's 40 hours a week, or would she rather just be a stay-at-home mom? Which one do you think that they would pick?
I
Different
hate
women will give you
children, so I would probably pick Kohl's.
Yeah, different women will give you different answers.
That's you, though.
Well, exactly.
But, like,
Exactly, and that's a lot of women.
Well,
no, that's a lot of women.
If you poll the majority, they will overwhelm them.
Do you have a study?
And you also need to
Do you
add
have a-
on to that step. Like, you know what?
Do you
I
have a
had that option. I actually did have that option to be with a guy that would have taken care of me. But you know what? He was an abusive asshole that would, like, get angry at the drop of a hat and would admit it to abusing me if it wasn't for the fact that he needed me for immigration and he knew I would leave him in a heartbeat. That type of piece of shit. So yeah, no, they exist. Don't get yourself wrong. Also, yeah, I do think it's time to end it. I think the chat's ready to. So, I don't know.
Yeah, you're fucking garbage. You're a fucking backwards ass, anachronistic,
All right.
total like I don't know, dude. Like I wish we could have like reached across the aisle and help you, but like you're clearly like you're fucked. I don't know. If this debate was just with me, I would have.
I mean, have I been out of line?
Not necessarily, but your viewpoints are really out of line.
No, hold on.
And backwards.
Here's the thing. I mean, you're the one jumping at my throat right now.
Well, yeah,
because reasonable.
Oh, Mr. Reasonable, I just think women don't deserve to vote. I just think black people are subhuman scum that don't belong here. I just think Jews are so fucking evil, even though Jews aren't the only ones fucking us over. Yeah, whatever. Like
you're mischaracterizing.
I'm mischaracterizing you because I don't use the exact wording of your arguments. Your arguments can be extrapolated very easily. You're dog whistling so fucking hard. I'm surprised. I'm surprised your house. I'm surprised there's not like barking all around your house. Like I'm surprised there's not like a crazy amount of barking in the background. Like it's insane.
What if I dog whistle?
Okay. No, I'm done. I'm done.
Because I know all of them. So.
No, I'm done. Fuck off. We don't need this person. Like it's so like. You can't argue with this type of person. You just fucking can't, guys. You fucking can't. Because they're just gonna keep fucking like deflecting and shit. And like.
Yeah, he's gone, guys. You guys know.
Yeah, he's gone. He's gone.
Just to let you guys know. Yeah, no. Sorry about that. Again, like, this was kind of my first debate. I will say, I think Jamie did a better job than I did. Because I'll admit, I'm too nice.
I'll admit, yeah, no, I was getting a little frustrated because you are nice, and I'm not as nice, so I can be like, bitch, like, you're a fucking, and that's the thing, like, if there was a number of things I wanted to call him on, like his 1350 thing constantly, and his like, oh, black people have lower IQ, which, by the way, that is so fucking negligible. If there is a difference, there isn't much data, by the way, to suggest that there's any significant difference in black and white IQ, but if there is, it's fucking negligible. It's such a tiny and there's fucking plenty of black people that score higher on IQ tests than plenty of white people. Like it's such a ridiculous fucking argument. And the 1350. Oh my god, black crime, guys. Oh my god, the black crime. Fuck your black crime. Okay? You know why there's black crime. Like this motherfucker like up Jim Crow before he even like mentioned 1350, and it's like, wait, you're gonna sit here about, oh, I just don't know why there's so much black on black crime, guys. Oh, and black on white crime, which, by the way, that's a bullshit statistic. There's no significantly higher black on white crime. It's actually more black on black crime and white on white crime. Most of the crime does not cross like race lines. Yeah, that happens, but that's not like an epidemic. That's not the majority of it. The numbers actually show that most people commit crimes against people within their own racial groups.
Yeah, no, trust me. And I know the chat was going insane for a minute. Like, I will admit, like, looking at our stats, it's like the chat went insane. I will admit, Jamie is my bad cock. You're my bad cock.
Yeah, I think we need to, like, dual debate people from now on, where, like, you ask the polite questions, and I come in and I'm like, no, fuck you, you're wrong. Here's research to back up why you're fucking wrong. I was sending Chess research too. I know she didn't have time to go looking through it.
I didn't.
But like
she can be my bad cop, And I'll be the good cop. I think that works out well. I think that works very well because clearly I can keep them here long enough to actually get somewhere. Oh my god, no, it was insane. I'm sorry, especially towards the end. Like, again, when I will admit more research needs to be done in the future by my behalf. Like, I'm very happy for you.
You know what we need to do?
Way more.
We need like Hyun to be our research guy to just like
Oh, God.
you hang out in like a DM with us and like or even like in the call, that's fine, and you can be like, guys, I have like this, or like, and just like send it to us and be like, here you go, here's like research to like fucking, because Hyun is so fucking good at that. Hyun is like the smartest. Hyun is a smart boy. I can't refute people that quickly.
Yeah, see, like, that's fine, because you know what, I could work with that, like, honestly, if we had that, like, third party in, because when Jamie goes on a tangent, that's plenty of time. Like, when they were going back and forth, I don't know if you guys realized, like, I was unbuttoning my shirt, I was, like, drinking water, I was, like, because there was no point for me to inject, and that would have been a perfect moment to pull up some stats. I should have done that.
That guy was pissing me off too, because like it was like he was like he was doing like some really weird arguments. And by the way, like I really I'm gonna say it really rubs me the wrong way when these guys, because I could tell what he was doing. By the way, I think I know why he reminded me of Red, because I think he was putting on the same nice guy voice that Red puts on when he like comes out. It's like, yeah, guys, look at me, I'm just a nice guy, reasonable with my positions here, and I'm like. Like what? Like I'm not being a dick. It's like, yeah, though you kind of are. Like you're suggesting that women don't deserve the right to have a say in anything that happens. You're saying that like I'm sorry, like I don't know how you can hold the position that only white landowning men like can vote between the ages of 30 and 65. Like
that was insane. Because you know what?
I love, dude, and I love how I made that.
No one of you could get a say in that.
Yeah, I love how like I brought that up as like a joke, as like, what, do you also want to like ban old people from voting? And he's like, well, actually, and I'm like, oh my god, you're actually going there.
The only person that can vote is the age of 49, and depending on what's going on in your life, if you don't remember to vote, that's it. You don't get a say in the rest of your existence. Have fun being in your dictator world.
Like, I wonder what he would say if like that happened and something happened and like his land was like foreclosed or something. Or got like he lost something, you know? Like what if he had to sell his land? What if he no longer had a say? You know?
And as I said, like, the fact that women have more rights in the 1920s, yeah, no, there was a huge issue with, like, abusive relationships. If you're in an abusive relationship,
like,
you were fucked, basically.
I didn't want to bring this up. I was a little wary of bringing this up because I knew where he was going to... I knew he was just going to call it anecdotal, but I know, like, from my experience and from shit I've seen, like, it's the majority. It's not just like, oh, there's some abuse. No. Most of those fucking... households, there's some fucking shit going on. And, like, why do you think so? Why do you think there was like the old trope of the suburban house mom that was like popping pills constantly and drinking because why do you think she can't handle her fucking life? She's miserable. She has to like be a fucking broodmare and a fucking servant and a fucking like maid to her husband who
By the way, just to interject, thank you, Rose Black. He just donated $4 for the Tylenol you two probably need after talking with him.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's very sweet of you.
Yeah, we need to work on our debate skills and like debating people. I don't like debates. I'm not a fan of debates. I don't like. I'm way better at just like putting out my thoughts and then letting people like argue with that. But I don't like the back and forth thing. Because it gets like too...
Well, honestly, I probably would be better off being the moderator. Like, I could find these people. I actually have an easier time arguing with these people on Twitter, because I'm mean on Twitter. I'll call you a fucking cunt on Twitter. But, like, here I'm like, yes, okay, so why do you honestly feel like you have that problem?
Maybe you should ask the questions, and I will, like, be the mean, ranty one.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think I could be the middle ground. I know the camera keeps, like, blurring in and out. But yeah, no, we need to set up Streamlabs on this one, because I did enjoy this. I think this was actually pretty good for the most part. Yes, he was fucking insane. And you know what, though? I might try to do more debates, because this did get a good, like, rile out of everyone. And it's good to see what's going on the opposite side, I'll be honest. Even when they're terrible.
I don't know how much I agree with you. Because, look, I listen to enough of these people being argued with, and I don't like actually interacting with them because they're just so slippery. I think that's one of the most frustrating things is that they're slippery. It's that you give them a point. It's like, well, yeah, no, and then they just like they start just like cycling through their same arguments, and everything they say is just circular as fuck. And they always have like some sort of kind of excuse, but like it doesn't actually like have any statistics or any like evidence behind it. It's just like, oh well, actually it's mostly this, and it's like that, which is why, by the way, I didn't bring up my thing about how my suspicion is that most like fucking housewives were fucking miserable because like let's just imagine that life, guys, where it's just like, yep, your job is to raise the kids and cook and clean and be your husband's sex slave, and even if you're not in the mood, like whatever, you gotta like do this, you gotta do everything, you gotta impress your husband, you gotta look hot for him too. You better not like let your waistline go or anything. You better not like you better not like gain weight. Like you better fucking watch it. Like he's gonna fucking like leave you. He's gonna like leave you out in the cold, and then what are you gonna do? Then you're gonna have like nothing. Then you're gonna have to like what? Go get a job? A woman with a job? What?
Yeah, see, that's the
All
thing.
your friends will disown you?
That's the thing. Oh god, I hope, I should probably, do I even want to look at my Twitter real quick? I'm like scared. Yeah,
My god, that guy gave me a headache.
no, he didn't. Okay, we're good.
Research.
Research. No, I don't mind, as I said, yeah, a bit of a headache. Actually, I don't know, I enjoyed this. I know you guys all went insane, and yeah, no, he was fucking dumb. No, his comments, the Jewish thing, as I said, like, do you know Jewish? Yeah, I've met, like, I know a Jewish, but my mom dated a Jewish guy for, like, what was it, like, 20 years. Like, they exist, and they're just normal human beings living a normal human life. Like,
oh my god, the cognitive dissonance on that Jew thing, where it's like, but most of them are Jews. I'm like, yeah, most of them are also white males. But it's like, what, are you trying to put what is it, a bloodline on me? And it's like, what? It's like, well, you're trying to do that with the Jews, right? No, well, that's different. They're just more powerful, and they're a minority. It's like, you're full of shit.
yeah.
You're full of fucking shit. Okay? Just say it's an elite conspiracy. Just say the elites are fucking us. Like, why does it have to be the Jews?
I mean, you can say this about anything. You know what? Like, I can easily play that card of, like, you know what? I don't know. Like, the cats. You know what? The cats. There's a reason why cats sound like trying children. Because they are slowly manipulating us into being their slaves. At least that sounds more credible than the fucking Jew argument.
Oh, yeah. And the cats are actually going to rise up and take over the entire planet. And we're going to be subject to the cats in like a few hundred years.
Why do you think Ella showed up during this debate? Do you think it was because she was like, oh, she needed to know what was going on?
By the way, love, you didn't see, you would be proud of me. I opened the door, like, I guess it was like right after you let her go. She like left the room and like she ran outside and I chased her down. I was like, no. I was like, you're getting back in that fucking house. And like I chased her in a circle around the backyard and then back to the door, and I opened the door and I'm like, and she like stood there and looked at me and I'm like, no, you are going in that house, Missy. And she did. And
you know what? I actually called that out. I don't know if you guys would like the chat can consent to this. Where I was like, I think Ella made a great escape. I'm sorry.
Nope,
that
I
was not
stopped
my
her.
noise.
I fucking stopped her. Hell yeah. I fucking.
I think yeah. You know what? Next crazy Nazi we get, I'm just gonna make the thumbnail of the cat's overlord.
That's the thing, by the way. Like, this guy was like, oh, I'm just civil. I'm being civil. What did I do? What you did is like argue for beliefs that are largely fucking harmful. Okay? You're arguing for like bigoted, unfounded, fucking stupid fucking beliefs that have no like logic or reason behind them. And yeah, you claim it's not based in bigotry or hate, but if it isn't, then it's based in fucking stupidity. And you know what? I don't like fucking drooling fucking retards who are just too dumb to like think. I'm sorry, that is not a slight against the autistic community. I'm just saying I don't like really fucking dumb people who just buy into fucking ideologies because it makes them feel better about being a white man.
By the way, I like Rose's back. She's like, I believe that Ella found that guy's point so dumb that she was almost able to mimic human speech in order to refute his points.
Yeah, it was close.
That was a good one. Okay, I don't know. I think we've been streaming for like an hour and 40. I don't know how you guys felt.
Let me come inside first.
You want to come inside? Okay, come inside. If you want to
Yes,
say...
they need to see my new outfit.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I don't know. This was interesting. I definitely, as I said, I want to get better at debating. I really do. Because you know what? I do like it when we call these people out and show them to the surface. Because by showing them to the surface, it shines a light on the cockroaches so we can deal with the problem.
Fucking cockroaches.
I don't know.
Hell yeah.
You wanna...
So what's up, everybody? What?
I don't know. I was gonna say.
Switch seats with me.
Yes.
Let me see.
Here. I'll give you the headphones. Actually.
Okay. Hell yeah.
I don't know why. Actually, why do you need the headphones?
I'm angry and sad. Yeah, me too. Me too, Chelsea. I'm sorry. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that as like insane or whatever it was. And yeah, Brett of a God. Yeah, dude. This is my first stream. Really loved it. Even if it made me angry beyond belief. Thank you, Otello. If you enjoyed it, go check out some of our older stuff. We have like a lot of cool shit. Cute color coordination. Yeah, I know. Is it too much pink, guys? Is it too much pink? Like, a lot of pink. A lot of fucking pink. I like pink, guys. I'm sorry. I wasn't able to admit that before. I wasn't able to like dress in like all pink before. I love it. I would wear a bit of pink, but like
I don't know. I think that's going to be our theme for like the future thumbnails.
Yeah, pink. I'm pink, guys. I'm sorry. Anyway, is that all?
Yeah,
is that all we have to say?
We can end it here.
Hell yeah. Okay. Well, it's the right amount. Thank you. You are very pink, lol. Yes, I love it. My eyeshadow is pink too. Yes, and my lipstick is pink. I love you guys. So yeah, that was fun. We'll see you guys. There'll be more streams this week. Yeah, I'm probably gonna do like a chill stream tomorrow, like the chillest of chill streams. I've also been thinking of starting like a gaming thing, like on Twitch. I might do that. I don't know, but yeah, we will see you guys. But yeah, chill stream tomorrow. But on Tuesday, I will do a proper Darké Vision, with like articles and videos and shit. So that'll be dope. So stay tuned for that shit. We will see you soon. Thanks for watching, guys. I love you. You guys are fucking amazing. Beautiful. Very 80s chic. Thank you.